Kalispell, Montana, often called the gateway to Glacier National Park, is a small town with a population of about 23,000 people. But in the summer of 2013, this quiet town grabbed national headlines for one of the most bizarre murders of the year. Jordan Graham was a quiet, introverted young woman, deeply committed to her faith when she met Cody Johnson, a 23-year-old who was almost her complete opposite. Unlike Jordan, Cody was outgoing and social. They met at a church picnic, but Cody wasn't really interested in church. He was more into fast cars and shooting guns. Despite their differences, Cody was immediately taken with Jordan and they began dating. While Cody quickly fell in love, Jordan remained distant and unaffectionate. Her religious beliefs meant she didn't believe in sex before marriage, but her coldness went beyond that. She never even held his hand or flirted with him, something their friends noticed. However, this didn't discourage Cody. He was determined to win her love. Early in their relationship, Cody told his mother that Jordan was the one, and that he wanted to marry her. Because Jordan's faith was so important to her, she insisted that Cody join her at church every Sunday. If he wanted to be with her, he needed to embrace her Christian values. Although Jordan and Cody had never been intimate, and Jordan still wasn't interested in showing affection, Cody remained hopeful. After a year of dating, he proposed, and to his delight, Jordan said yes. They started planning their wedding, and while Jordan seemed excited about the planning process, it was clear she wasn't thrilled about the idea of being married. She often questioned her friends about whether she was making the right choice. Her friends noticed her hesitation, but Jordan continued with the wedding plans anyway. Before the big day, she even confided in her friend that she wanted the wedding, but was not looking forward to being married. June 29, 2013 was their wedding day. It was a warm summer day in Montana, filled with excitement from Cody and the guests. However, Jordan seemed somber and emotional. As she walked down the aisle, she cried and stared at the ground. Her tears clearly weren't from happiness, she was terrified. When she reached the altar, she continued to cry and couldn't even look Cody in the eye. She held his hand but kept her gaze downward. After the ceremony, the couple danced to a song a friend had written, with lyrics like, "You helped me to climb higher for a better view, you're my safe place to fall." But it was obvious that Jordan wasn't enjoying the wedding, the reception, or the thought of being married. She was especially anxious about the wedding night. Jordan texted her matron of honor, saying, "I should be happy, and I'm just not." She added, "I just know he's gonna want to do stuff, and I'm not really wanting to." Jordan planned to use the excuse of her period starting to avoid intimacy. She wrote, "I freaking hope it works. Because if I'm forced to do something, I'm gonna freak out." She felt it was her duty to make Cody happy, even if it meant being miserable herself. In the days following the wedding, Jordan confessed to her friends that they still hadn't consummated the marriage because she was too nervous. She seemed lethargic and depressed when she was with them. Cody, too, opened up to his friends, revealing that even after getting married, there was still no intimacy or affection. Nothing had changed between them. A week after their wedding, Jordan texted a friend again, saying, "Oh well, I'm about to talk to him." Her friend replied, "I'll pray for you guys," to which Jordan responded, "But dead serious, if you don't hear from me at all again tonight, something happened." And indeed, something did happen. 9 days after the wedding, Cody's friends and family grew worried when he didn't show up for work. This behavior was completely out of character for Cody. The last time anyone had seen him was with Jordan on Sunday afternoon, right after church, at the local Dairy Queen. When Cody's friends reached out to Jordan about his disappearance, she seemed oddly unconcerned. In fact, she appeared happier than they'd ever seen her before. Jordan told them that Cody had been in the garage of their home that Sunday evening, but when she went out to check on him, he was gone. She mentioned seeing a dark-colored car with Washington plates driving away. Later, she claimed to have received a message from Cody saying he was going for a ride with some friends from out of town. Cody's friends knew this story didn't add up. Cody would never just leave without telling someone, and he wasn't answering any of their texts or calls. Worried, they contacted the police and reported him missing. Naturally, the first person the police wanted to talk to was Jordan, the last person to have seen him. Jordan repeated the same story to the police that she had told her friends. She explained, "I got a message saying that he was going to go for a ride with some of his out-of-town buddies that were visiting. I had no idea who they were. But he always told me this one thing: when his friends came to visit, he would take them to Glacier Park." When the police asked if she and Cody had been fighting that night, Jordan insisted they hadn't. She had told one of her friends the same thing. However, when police interviewed Jordan's matron of honor, Kimberly, they heard a different story. Kimberly revealed that Jordan had confided in her about an argument with Cody. According to Kimberly, Jordan said that during the fight, Cody had held her down and grabbed his keys, scratching her in the process. This conflicting account raised more questions for the investigators. Friends and family gathered at Jordan's house to help her search for Cody, but she seemed uninterested in finding him. She grew frustrated with everyone's concern for Cody. At one point, visibly upset, she took off her wedding ring and threw it across the room. This shocked and confused Cody's friends. They were there to help her find her missing husband, but she seemed to want something else entirely. The police were also noticing Jordan's strange behavior and the inconsistent stories she was giving. It seemed like she was telling everyone a slightly different version of events. Even her friends were starting to get suspicious, unsure of what to make of her odd actions. Then Jordan shared some unexpected news. She claimed she had received an email from someone calling himself Tony the Car Man. In the email, Tony claimed that Cody had taken him to Glacier National Park and accidentally fallen off a cliff. The email read, "Hello Jordan, my name is Tony. There is no bother looking for Cody anymore, he's gone." Her friends found it strange that Jordan showed them the email but not the police. They urged her to show it to the authorities. What struck them as even stranger was that Jordan wasn't crying. Someone had just told her that her husband of a little over a week was dead, yet she showed no signs of being upset. The police were immediately suspicious, not of the mysterious Tony or the oddly worded email, but of Jordan herself. They knew things like this didn't just happen. Jordan's demeanor was also concerning. She seemed more relieved than saddened by the news. Kalispell Police Detective Corey Clark noted, the email that she provided to us stated that these unknowns that he had taken off with, as well as this Tony person, had seen him fall from a cliff or at least disappear, and that she was given explicit instructions to tell the police to call off the search. There was no more need to search for him, and at that point, I think she just expected us to just walk away from it. For days after Cody's disappearance, Jordan suddenly gathered her friends and announced she wanted their help searching for Cody in Glacier National Park. Glacier National Park is a vast area, covering over 1 million acres of rugged mountains and containing more than 700 lakes. As they drove out to the park, Jordan acted as if they were on a casual outing. She rolled down her window, let her arm hang out to feel the breeze, and sang along with the music on the radio. Her friends, meanwhile, were somber and confused by her lack of emotion. Once they arrived at the park, her friends searched diligently despite the park's enormous size, but Jordan barely put in any effort. They found nothing that day and returned home. The next day, they returned to the park, and this time, within minutes of arriving, Jordan seemed to know exactly where to go. She told her friend she believed Cody was at a specific spot on a trail called the Loop Trail. This trail had a location with a 300-foot cliff just beyond a safety wall. Jordan, now more animated, exclaimed, "I think he's down here." She quickly climbed over the safety wall and made her way down to the cliff's edge, where she peered over and shouted, "He's down there, I can see him." Jordan's friends were stunned. In a park spanning over 1 million acres, she had led them straight to this spot. When the police arrived, they used a helicopter to reach the bottom of the cliff. There, in the shallow water beneath a waterfall, they found Cody Johnson's body. His body showed significant damage to his head and arms, and it was determined he had fallen face first. An 8-inch gash was found on his forehead, and he was missing his wedding ring. Jordan, again showing little emotion, seemed relieved. When asked by police how she knew where to find Cody in such a vast area, she simply replied, "The Holy Spirit led me to where he was." It was a place he had wanted to see before he died. Just days into her marriage, Jordan Graham became a widow, but she didn't seem to care. She told her friend Kimberly, "Now that we have the body, we can have the funeral, and the cops can be out of it." Jordan naively believed that once Cody's body was found, the police would just drop the investigation. By the time of Cody's funeral, only 16 days after their wedding, her friends were convinced that Jordan was responsible for his death. Her behavior was beyond strange, it was cold and emotionless. At the funeral, while Cody's friends and family were grieving and crying as his body was lowered into the ground, Jordan was seen on her phone, texting. This only confirmed her friends' suspicions. The police shared those suspicions and were actively building their case against her. After the funeral, Kalispell police brought Jordan in for further questioning, with the FBI now involved in the investigation. When the agents informed her that she was under arrest for the murder of her husband, just 8 days after their wedding, Jordan didn't react. It wasn't until they showed her the evidence they had gathered that she began to show any emotion. The investigation had uncovered some damning evidence. The police had subpoenaed cell phone records for both Jordan and Cody. These records revealed that both of them had entered Glacier National Park on the Sunday evening in question. Security footage from the park's entrance showed them driving in together in Jordan's car. Moreover, investigators discovered that the email from Tony the carman had actually been composed by Jordan herself at her stepfather's home. She had written the email in an attempt to cover up her crime. Confronted with this evidence, Jordan finally broke down. She confessed that she had serious regrets about the marriage and had been overwhelmed with negative emotions. She went on to explain that she and Cody had been arguing on the night of his death. In an attempt to clear their heads, they decided to drive to Glacier National Park and hike the Loop Trail. Then Jordan mentioned something that left the FBI agent stunned. She claimed that, seemingly out of nowhere, Cody had suggested he could walk the trail blindfolded. "I didn't want to do that trail because I was afraid that he could fall," Jordan explained, but he said, "I could do it with a blindfold on. I could just put it on, take a step, and I wouldn't even fall." This statement shocked investigators because police had found a black piece of cloth near Cody's body that they suspected might have been used as a blindfold. When the FBI forensic team tested the cloth, they discovered human hairs embedded in it. However, due to mishandling during the investigation, they couldn't definitively prove it had been used as a blindfold. Adding to the story, Cody's friends mentioned that on the Sunday before his disappearance, Cody was in high spirits because Jordan had told him she had a surprise for him. Cody and his friends assumed that the surprise was that they would finally be intimate. The FBI believed that Jordan lured Cody to the park with the promise of sex and blindfolded him under this pretense. Jordan recounted what happened next. While they were on the Loop Trail, they climbed over the safety wall along the Going to the Sun road and made their way down a steep, rocky slope. They eventually reached the edge of a cliff with a sheer drop below. Jordan admitted, "It kept going through my head that, you are going to fall or something." Then we were arguing some more, and he went to grab my arm and my jacket. I said, "No, I am going to defend myself." So I said, "Let go," and I pushed, and then he went over. She continued, "I wasn't thinking about where we were, I just pushed. I don't feel like I killed him, I pushed him, but it was an accident." Jordan described her emotions at the time. "I think it's because emotions were running so high. I was frustrated, I was angry, I was every emotion I could ever think of all at once. And I've never felt like that before. I've never experienced such high emotions. Later in the interrogation, Jordan admitted that she had shoved Cody with both hands on his back during their argument on the loop trail. He fell 300 feet to his death. After pushing him, she left the park and drove home. During the 1-hour drive back, she sent text messages to her friends but said nothing about what had happened to Cody. She then fabricated stories for her friends and family, claiming that Cody had gone on a joyride with some friends. Jordan Graham, just 22 years old, was charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and making misleading statements to the police. She faced a potential life sentence. Initially, Jordan pleaded not guilty. However, during the trial, just before the case was to go to the jury, she changed her plea to guilty for second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Jordan offered no apologies or further explanations for her actions, stating, "It was a moment of complete shock and panic. I have no other explanation." Reflecting on her brief marriage, she admitted, "I kinda was feeling, should we have waited a little bit longer and then got married? I wasn't feeling like I was on cloud 9.